What's up, people? I am back for another video. I fell asleep early last night, that's why. Hold on. There you go. Sorry, I'm fucking keeping that in the shot. I was gonna do a retake, but fuck it, I'll keep that in. But today, I am reviewing American Pie 2. We're continuing down. But before that, I watched Guardians earlier, and I don't think I'm gonna do a video on it. I might still, but it'll be way down when I'm not rushing to do one. But really quick, I guess I'll do a real quick kind of maybe 5-minute discussion about it. Guardians 3 was okay. I put some thoughts on Instagram and Twitter. It's an okay movie. I think the character moments are good, but a lot of the humor was forced. The humor just didn't work for me sometimes. Like, I think Drax's humor worked and Quill's did, but Mantis. Every time I don't know what they were going for. I'm like, because she wasn't that annoying in the special. And then in this, she was like, they were trying to make her like the new comedy act, and it just didn't work. Every time she tried to be funny, I just cringed. But overall, actually one of the biggest positives, it has a good villain. The High Evolutionary is easily the best MCU villain in, man. I guess since Thanos, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of MCU. I prefer Thanos in the comics. MCU Thanos is fine, but I don't get the love he gets. But I guess for me, since Ronan, because Ronan was probably like the last decent MCU villain. But yeah. I actually he was good. High Evolutionary was good. The animal stuff with Rocket and learning his past was okay, but it was kind of padding because we already kind of knew his fucking origin, even if they didn't say it. And I guess if you like animals, you'll like it. You know, it's kind of sad, but the Gamora was pointless. I would have actually her and fucking Adam Warlock. Oh my god, they ruined my boy. Because Will Porter's not a good actor, but in this movie, he was nothing like the character. He was basically a joke. He has one okay scene where he saves Quill in the end, but aside from that, why was he in this movie? You set him up in technically in Guardians 2, in the credits, he should have been in Infinity War, in Endgame. He's a big reason why Thanos gets beat. I think in the comics, he's the one who actually beats Thanos. But like, it's fine if you wanted. You could have tweaked it and have it be he's an instrumental part in defeating Thanos, but you could have still had Tony be the one who actually delivers the blow or something. But it was stupid. You introduce this character in this movie and then you do nothing with him. You make him a mama's boy who's just kind of there to be a joke. Like, besides the one scene saving Quill, he didn't have like any legit scenes. It was so sad because he wasted such a good character. I thought this movie was kind of drawn out too, but I guess really I don't want to go on too long, but it's all right. It is kind of dark. It is a bit on the darker side, but not in a good way. There were times where it was almost like the movie was feeling bad for itself at times, and I'm just like, okay, can we, like, the forced humor was not working for me, but can we get in the tone of the first movie? It was cool seeing Stallone. Not gonna lie, Stallone as the leader of the Ravagers is pretty cool. Granted, he kind of had a much smaller role in this one. Like, he has like one scene, just to bring in Gamora, who, my opinion, I guess really quick I'll go in on her. She was pointless. She was just there so Quill can kind of work out his issues, but you could have did that without Gamora there. Because Zoe Saldana is a good actress. Why bring her in if you're not going to have her do anything? She was like sidelined. So was Rocket, but at least with Rocket, the story kind of explains why he's sidelined. It's fine with him. But she should not have been sidelined. She could have been part of the story, but they just sidelined her for no reason. But yeah, Guardians 3 was okay. I don't think I'm going to watch it again. Most likely not, but easily one of the better MCU movies I've seen in a while. I'm at a 7. I think I'm going to still stick with that, like a 7. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to watch it again, though. It just doesn't scream like I need to watch that again. And if I do, it'd only be just because I maybe want to watch all three, but I don't even know I'm going to do that. I haven't even watched Guardians 2 in a while. I might only just watch the first, because I think the first Guardians is like the truly great one. I like 2. 2 was fine, but yeah. Anyway, so that's my little thing on Guardians 3. I just wanted to say something, because I don't think I'm going to do a video on it. It didn't give me a strong reaction either way. Like, I didn't really like it, like love it, or I didn't hate it. So it's like, I just don't feel like it was worth making a video on. Unless maybe I decide to do all the Guardians or something, then maybe. But American Pie 2. To me, I've always preferred this one, even when I first watched it. Because I watched American Pie 2, I think, I'll be honest, when I first watched the first one, I didn't know there was a sequel. It wasn't until years later I watched it, and I loved it more than the first. I think as a movie, I think the jokes hit a bit better. I like how Jim and his friends are out of high school. I like the out of high school element. I think that's a big part of it. I like the lake house setting. I thought the stuff with the girls that they call lesbians and who are not actually lesbians is hilarious. That scene where they try to, because he thought, that basically they had Jim and Stifler try to do basically gay shit, so to get them to, it was, and then for me the gag with the fucking Jim, accidentally fucking using glue instead of lube. And he has, that whole scene was funny. So, like, overall, it's a fun movie. It's a fun sequel. It builds on the characters. Not a lot of new characters. Relatively, it's one of those rare sequels, because most sequels, you at least introduce one new character. I don't really think they did. I think this one was one of the rare sequels that pretty much have the same characters. Like, they're just doing different things, but there's not, like, a new character. I'm actually happy they didn't add, like, a new character in the friend group, because it would have, I like that they were like, we're just gonna stick with our main cast. We brought Michelle back, because she's there to help Jim, because Nadia's coming to town, and she basically is there to be his essentially sex guru. I like those scenes. Oz, is still with his girl Heather. And that phone sex scene was funny. Like, there's little bits with each character that I found funny. Like, each of their own little, like in the first one, but I think this was a perfect sequel to build upon. So I very much enjoyed this one. I'm definitely watching this one. I probably might watch this one more than I think you should watch the first one, but you can almost watch this one. So you do get, like, a cliff notes of what happened in the first American Pie. And you kind of can't just watch this one by itself in a way. But I wouldn't recommend it. I think the first one's worth watching, and then watching this one right after is perfect. I don't know. I like the lake house setting. I thought that was a fun setting. So pretty much the premise is Jim and the boys they go to a party. It ends up getting raided. So Kevin decides to use his older brother's lake house, and they end up having a big blowout party in the end. Nadia's coming into town, so Jim has to basically get some experience. So we get some funny gag between him and Michelle. It's just a funny sequel, and it's a perfect follow-up, And it's almost an immediate sequel. Granted, it's supposed to be a couple years later, but it doesn't feel like there's that big of a gap. Kevin is working out his issues with Vicky, because, they're broken up and she's come back. And yeah, like, I love, like in the first one, each character kind of gets their own little story going. So, but overall, I love American Pie 2. I think it's funny. I like I don't know. I think them not being in high school is kind of one of the best things about the movie for me. But yeah. So, like, this video might be a bit shorter, because like the American Pie reviews are probably gonna be very much just me describing what happens and say, oh, this shit's funny. Because, like the first one's very straightforward. There's not a lot of, like, these movies aren't, like, you can overly analyze or anything like that, so. But, yeah, American Pie 2, the first one I'd give a 9. I think I give this one 9.5. I really like it. I really thought it was a perfect follow-up. So I can't wait to do American Wedding. I've not seen that one. That's one I haven't seen, so we're going to be going into the ones I've not seen, so, yeah. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a spoiler review on Sisu, because I just want to give it one more watch. I'll probably watch it tomorrow. Again, but yeah, Sisu tomorrow. Spoilers. Yeah, man, Sisu's fucking badass, so I definitely recommend it. So just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, so that's my then Monday. I'm actually gonna probably after this video start putting my list together for 1984. But yeah, so that'll be on Monday. So that's my and then tomorrow I'll probably go into what I got going on for this upcoming week. But other than that, I'm gonna cheers and I'll talk to y'all. We'll get going on the video, on the review. So Jim, as Kevin and Finch are at a party, you know, they're kind of catching up on their lives. Vicky shows up. They kind of lie to each other about like how many people they've had sex with. Vicky said he had sex with 3 with a guy, and then Kevin said 3 girls. Then yeah, the party ends up getting raided. Before that, there was that scene though where because the actor who plays Harold, you kind of see him in the background of these movies. His whole gag in this one is he has to take a piss. So Stifler's hooking up with this girl. She ends up getting knocked out by like a vase. And she was supposed to pour like, you know, champagne on him. And he ends up getting pissed on because Harold's peeing on the from the roof. It was funny. Or a balcony, sorry. That whole scene was funny, man. So he gets raided. Then Kevin calls his brother, Casey Affleck cameo. I love his little cameos in these movies. He then, Kevin decides to take the boys. Before that scene where Kevin's dad finds, not Kevin, Jim's dad. Jim's dad finds Jim having sex. I thought that video was fucking hilarious. That part of the movie, like, I love those moments, and that was like some of my favorite moments in the first one. So I love that they still have that in this one, even the scene later. So the boys decide to go to Kevin's lake house so they can have like a one big last blowout. So, and throughout the film, Jim, this is where Jim gets the message from Nadia, like, because they're basically somewhat kind of setting them up as a thing for a bit. So she comes down, so he needs help, so he tracks down Michelle. She's at basically band camp. I actually love that. I love that she's actually at band camp. That's actually probably what I might title this one. They're actually at a band camp. I love it. So they ask Michelle. Michelle says he's terrible, so she basically starts kind of teaching him, because throughout the film Jim poses as a Down, I think it was like basically Down syndrome choir boy. It's pretty funny. I was when he actually they have him try to play I think it was a flute or trombone, and he does it terribly. It's funny. Like, I love the gags throughout this movie, and I think the thing is too, this movie didn't fall into the trap of let's just spam more jokes. Sometimes that can work, but there are some comedy sequels where they're like, okay, we're just gonna beat, you know, the joke that made the first one so good. We're just gonna beat that into, like, you're gonna overly spam that in the next sequel. They didn't do that this time. They didn't like, let's have Jim fuck another pie, right? They could have done that, you know. They didn't go that route. They did different types of jokes. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where because the girls that they're living next to, Stifler thinks they're lesbians, but they get in their house, they get caught, and Stifler explains it, and basically the girls kind of trick the boys into doing gay shit. It was funny. It was funny. The thing was, it was at a simpler time when you could just joke about shit. Now you couldn't even do that. And the girls say, "Oh, we'll do, you know, some hot lesbian shit if you like." I think basically they had to touch Silver's dick, and neither Jim or Fit, they both just dipped. I thought that was funny. Like, the comedy was simple in this. They didn't spam it. So Finch's arc this movie is he's trying to, because he's had he said he's had sex with a lot of people, but none will be ever like basically Stifler's mom, and that's his arc throughout the film, because he thinks he's coming over because he hears Stifler say a Stifler's coming, but it turns out that it's his little brother, who I thought was funny. He was, granted, he only had a couple scenes, it wasn't too bad. Stifler bought the boy some porn lube. That's gonna come later, because and basically Jim's arc throughout the movie is basically Michelle is helping him basically get better at sex so he can be ready for Nadia. Nadia definitely has a much smaller role in this because she only calls a couple times. She doesn't show up till like the last bit of the movie, like with basically the party scene later on. But then you get a funny scene with Oz and Heather. You know, they have phone sex and Stifler fucking comes in and interrupts. That was pretty funny. Then this is probably the funniest section of the movie. Jim, you know, is masturbating, right? And he ends up thinking he's using lube, but he ends up using like basically like super glue, and he has to try to get his hand removed. It was funny. I thought it was good. Also, I think another thing too why it worked, it didn't drag on. This could have been a joke that they made go for like 20 minutes. No, they made it go for like, it was like a 10-minute scene about that roughly. You know, between the time, you know, his dad had to come take him to the hospital and like the cops showing up. I thought that was funny. Like, it was the right amount of time, because this could have been a joke they could have overly, you know, that could have ran long, but they made it work. It was quick little gag. It was pretty funny. You know, it was kind of like the pie thing from the first one, but it was something different. You have a funny, awkward scene between him and his dad. Fucking love it. So then pretty much, Stifler's younger brother shows up, and then, yeah, basically the party, I think, is after this, really. Heather comes early. Vicky ends up going to the party with a date. So Kevin kind of storms off and reveals that he he lied about that he didn't have anybody else after Vicky. The boys comfort him and basically, you know, just kind of talk about their life. I love that's kind of the thing too about the first one I love the gags, but like the moments when they're actually just talking and have those little moments. I fucking love those moments in this movie. You know? Like, I thought their chemistry is, granted, it was good in the first one. It was awesome in the first one, but it was much better in this one. Like, you could tell, like, they all have history. So I can't wait for, that's probably what I think I'm gonna end up liking the next two movies. Maybe they won't be as funny as, like, let's say the first two, but at least that chemistry's still there. That's all it needs. And that might be able to, like, that heart is almost a good way of saying it. So, Nadia arrives. Jim and Michelle pose as a couple to kind of lead Nadia on, and then they break up. But Michelle actually started gaining feelings, and Jim went, after being with Nadia for a little bit, ends up realizing he's in love with Michelle. Nadia ends up hooking up with Sherman, which was pretty funny. Then he gets with Michelle at her performance. They go back to the party. You know, everybody parties on, and the movie kind of ends with the boys leaving. We get Stifler's mom in the end. She picks up Paul, and they hook up, and then the boys kind of ride off. That's basically the end of the movie. It's a fun sequel. Like, it still has that heart. I like that the gags were good, but they weren't like, they didn't draw them out like how some movies, especially nowadays, would. That, like, the scene with Jim, that would have been the scene with I'll just say the scene with the glue. The scene with the glue, they would have drawn that out in a newer movie. If they did that now, they would have drawn that gag out. I like that this movie, they didn't do that. They made it kind of quick, a little quick, like, I think it was like a 10-minute section of the movie, and then they moved on. It was a funny gag for a little bit, and then they did. It was just in general, this is a great sequel, so I definitely recommend it. It's perfect to watch after the first one. I like the not high school setting, and I actually just like the lake setting. I think that's partially why that lake setting is fun. I like the scene. Stifler fucking gets a threesome in the end with the girls. Turns out they're not lesbians, but yeah, that was pretty funny. All around, just great movie. So great sequel, and that's really all I can say. So, but other than that, Sisu review tomorrow. Spoilers and all that. That's pretty much it. So I definitely recommend American Pie 2. Solid sequel. That's probably what I might just title it that if I decide to change my mind. But anyway, cheers, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. As usual. I'll talk to y'all soon. Joe Biden.